Now, in the summer of 2008, we do the press release that effective at the end of our fiscal year, October 1st, I will step down as CEO. The board asked me to stay on as chairman, which I was, to become chairman, which I was proud to do. And once we made that press release, I was a little going through some anxiety crisis. And, I'm not going to have a job now. I'm not going to, what am I going to be able to do? I didn't have anything else to necessarily go to. And but immediately I got a tremendous response from Wall Street, firms, people asking would I have an interest in becoming part of their organizations. I had some media outlets talk to me about the possibility of my getting more involved with them, maybe with my own show. I had a group talk to me about writing another book, this one on leadership. And when I was I mentioned I wrote a book on football, but at Ameritrade, I thought that we needed something more than just running a good business. We needed to have an aspirational mission. We had to have something that united and excited our thousands of employees. They had to feel, they had to have a reason to go in every day other than, this is my job. And that was, we're going to bring financial literacy to every family in this country. And I thought we were going to do that through smart marketing and smart education. So I thought the best way to kind of do that was to write a book on investing, to show everybody it's really not that difficult to do, and it's a critical responsibility that we all need to take very seriously for the welfare of our families. So I was asked to write another book on leadership. I said I'd love to do that one day, but not so much now. And then what happened, I got a phone call from a group of alumni associated with Yale. And they said, this is the summer of 2008, and they said the end of the 2008 season, there was a chance that the head football job might open. Would I have interest? And the first thing I said, hey guys, you understand I have not coached for over 20 years. I love that sound. I have not coached for over 20 years, and they said, we've been following your career from the very beginning. We know what kind of a leader you are. We know the job you've done at Merrill Lynch. We know the job you've done at TD Ameritrade. And we've really spent a lot of time analyzing the skill sets that are required for a head football coach. We really think you have those. Why don't you think about it? I said, okay, I will. Now, I'm a pretty self-reflective guy, and I usually have like a legal pad by my bed, and I'm kind of always jotting down a little idea here and there. But one of my strengths, I think I'm pretty good at being honest with myself, and I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. I know what my strengths and weaknesses are. So over the span of the next 5 months, what I found was I wasn't losing 1 second of sleep on any of the business opportunities, the media opportunities, the speaking engagements, the book, none of that. But I couldn't get the football piece out of my head. And I started to give myself serious, intense notes about, okay, these are the skill sets. Do I have these skill sets? If I have these skill sets, am I still capable of executing these skill sets? And bottom line is, if the answer to those things are yes, then at the end of the day, is this something that I really, really want to do? Am I passionate about this? Can I really go after this? And one of the people that I reached out to for help on this was Tom Osborne. Now, if you don't know who Tom is, he coached on 5 national championship teams in Nebraska. He was the head coach of 3 of those teams. He won 3 out of 4 national championships in a row, and decided to step down in 1997 after he won his third out of 4 at the height of his career. He's already in the NCAA Hall of Fame. And a year or 2 later, he was in politics. He was a congressman. So when I asked Tom if he'd mind meeting with me, and I said, Coach, what I need to talk to you about is just career transition. You stepped down at the height of your career. I kind of felt I was doing that with me. And what did you go through? What was it like? What made you decide to get in politics? And he was wonderful in terms of opening up to me. And I said, well, let me tell you what I'm going through. And I told him, it took me about 5 minutes, and then I laid the football bomb on him. And he said, well, that's never been done, at least in the history of college football. It certainly hasn't been done in professional football. This is an 85-hour work week. It requires this. It requires that. It requires this. I probably did everything he could to kind of talk me out of it. And a couple of months later, after thinking about this very, very hard for 5 months, the decision I came to was there are still things that I'm in demand of in my life that I think I could be very good at. But the one thing that I think I could be best at, have the greatest impact in, and get the most satisfaction from, is being a head football coach. And the reason why I was reasonably successful prior to was because I only put myself in position where I took on challenges where I had those skill sets and was totally passionate about it and devoted and dedicated to. And that's the way I felt about this. So after discussing this with family and close friends, I went in and visited Coach Osborne. I said, I made a decision, I want to do this. And he could not have been happier for me. And he said, we need you to come back to football. I'm delighted. I said, I wanted to push you hard on this one because you should only be doing this if you're really sure you want to go after it. And it was Tom then that said, let me introduce you to Coach Bo Pelini. Now, so this is the end of 2008, beginning of 2009. Now I've got a 20-something year gap that I've got to start to fill in. And I started to work hard at redeveloping or putting together a new group of athletic contacts, football contacts. People would offer me advice, insight, thoughts, etc., but I also knew I needed to gain experience. So one of the guys that took me under his wing and could not have been more supportive was Gene Corrigan. Now, Gene Corrigan, I think many of you probably know, he was the athletic director at Virginia. Then he was the athletic director at Notre Dame. Then he came back to Virginia. He lives in Charlottesville to be the commissioner of the ACC. And he's certainly one of the most respected league commissioners or college administrators in the entire country. And he set me up with Al Groh at Virginia, and I spent almost 10 days with those guys to just kind of come back and get my feet wet, and they couldn't have been more hospitable. Prior to that, Coach Osborne set me up with Bo and said, Bo's going to be 100% in charge of whatever happens, but I'll make the introduction. So Bo was good enough. We were supposed to get together for half an hour. We wanted to spend it 2 hours. We got together again after that, and I told him the entire story, and I told him what I need is an opportunity to be able to come back and kind of get my feet wet again and make sure I kind of really learn what's going on. Do I still have it? Do I understand what's going on out there? Can I be good at this? Yeah, in effect, challenge my own hypothesis. Bo and I talked about that a couple more times. He invited me to spring practice. I spent some time with him. Then he started inviting me into the meetings, watching some film with him. And then the day before the spring game, he said to me, are you absolutely sure this is what you want to do? And I said, yeah, I know this is what I want to do. And he said, well, tell you what, if you want to do this, I want you to do this with me. And I can't tell you what that meant to me. For a football coach in season, it's a 90-hour work week. It's 4 or 5 months. You do not get a day off. Your entire career is dependent upon what happens on the weekend. And when you move up in the profession, you don't go across the river or through a tunnel to take the other job. You got to uproot your family. You got to move. You got to go someplace else. So that's an incredibly close-knit, very family-like, but very intense environment. You don't invite an outsider to that. I'm not sure how many other head coaches in the country at major programs would have done that, but he did. So for 2 years now, I've been the executive advisor to the head football coach at the University of Nebraska. What does that really mean? What that really means is, number one, we go out of our way to make sure we don't violate any of the NCAA rules. Number two, though, it's really, I'm getting, in effect, a private tutorial from Bo Pelini, who I think is one of the absolute up-and-coming coaches in this country, and Tom Osborne, who's already an icon, who's been there and done that, as well as the rest of the staff in Nebraska and our players, on how do you lay a foundation for great programs, championship programs. How do you do that? That's what I've been doing. Now, I'm there 14 hours on a Sunday, 15 on a Monday, 15 on a Tuesday, 15 on a Wednesday. I live in Omaha. Lincoln's about an hour away. I stay in a hotel in Lincoln 4 nights a week. Thursday after practice, I go back to Omaha, have dinner with my wife. Friday, I spend at TD Ameritrade. Friday night, I see the team either at the hotel or else I see them the next day, game day. I'm on the field with them pre-games, and during the game, I'm in the coach's box. I'm on the coach's box. So that's kind of what's been going on in terms of my current responsibilities as far as Nebraska goes. I will stay with Nebraska through our bowl game, and as the commissioner pointed out, I become effective at the beginning of the year. A lot of people had asked me. Remember, I had no business experience when I moved from coaching to the business world. And everybody said, you are never going to be able to get it done. First of all, you're never going to get a job. Secondly, you're never going to be able to get it done. Well, I did get a job, and I was able to get it done. And I wasn't, and when a lot of people ask me, what was it that helped you be successful in your business life? Almost invariably, I go back and I say, it's what I learned at 16 years as a football coach. And now, when I first started to talk about this a couple of years ago, the automatic reaction was, this is just another business guy that gets all excited about being associated with professional or collegiate sports. and that part doesn't excite me. What I am is really truly a coach going back to coaching. And I think I've had enough experiences at either the national or the global level at a reasonably senior level for almost 2 decades where I've had to operate under pressure. I've had to operate against very, very intense competition in the midst of either business or world-like or economic type of crises. And I think a lot of those things that I've learned as a business leader will frankly help give me a competitive advantage as a football coach, as a head football coach. When we talked about, when the commissioner and I talked about the potential opportunity to wind up doing something here in Virginia with the Destroyers, frankly, I find this to be one of the most beautiful places in the country. My wife was actually cheerleader and homecoming queen at the University of Richmond. I mentioned my friends Gene Corrigan, Craig Littlepage, and John Oliver, athletic directors, and Jerry Capone, associate athletic director of Virginia, are good friends. I know Jim Weaver, the AD at Virginia Tech. Jeff Bourne, the athletic director, James Madison. Tom Yeager, the commissioner of the Colonial Athletic Conference, James Madison, Richmond. William and Mary were all in that conference. So I do have ties to the Virginia area, and I've always found Virginia to be one of the most beautiful places in the country to live, and I can't tell you how excited I am about not only the opportunity, but by becoming more part of what's actually going on here in Hampton Roads and Virginia in general. So I didn't mean to be long-winded, but I thought that was a lot of, I want you to understand kind of what got me here today, and I wanted you to kind of understand that background. And with that, I'm ready to open up for questions, and the original question is going to be out of bounds, so now's a good opportunity to kind of ask.
The United Football League. If you like great football, you'll love the UFL.